do it. We're going to do it. We're going to talk about how making your port and your box, your corners, your everything airtight and smooth, all that stuff. How does that affect your system? Does covering up that, does putting tape, like metal tape inside your box, does that kind of stuff, does it actually help your system? We're going to talk about that, guys. Hang tight. Let's get started. What's up, guys? Ooh, baby. Look at the booty on that sub, baby. Yeah, baby. Wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. I think I hear the police coming. What's that? What's that? Bad boys, what you gonna do? Now check out Dustin's ride, man. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad cheese, you go to school and learn the golden rule. So why are you? Check it out, guys. Like you know, don't be hating. You get hot, then you must get cool. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Tell me that shit ain't badass. That is the mad scientist, guys. He's the one that does all the box designing for our team, and his services are available in the description of all my videos. Well, the last couple months worth of videos. Down there, you'll see box designs. That's the guy. He does that. That's what he does, and he does a good job of it. He's an amazing designer. The name of his company is Eagle Design. So if you guys are interested in picking that up, that's what's up. So, holy crap. People are asking questions. Let me see here what's going on. Bobby B in the house. We got Franco Quaid in the house. Joseph and Rick Ross. Hostile Hair. Corley. Let's see who else is in here. El Fuego. Did I already mention you? And Dubstep. Dub is in the house. What's up, guys? This is the core of my crew. There's a few missing, but most of you core guys are here, at least in the chat. There's probably a whole lot more that are here that are just not talking about anything, and that's all fine and dandy. Some people don't like to do the chat function. They just want to listen to it as a podcast, and that's totally fine. So, in talking to Dustin, who I often refer to as the mad scientist, the guy that owns that vehicle that you guys just saw with the red and the blue going on. That music, by the way, was being played from that vehicle. That wasn't a track I did on top of it. That was actually the vehicle playing, and it was turned way down for that little video clip. He's doing a whole lot of crazy stuff with 218s, guys. He's doing he's capable of doing right at a 160 with 218s on around 15,000 watts, which is just stupid. And that is credit to how a good, well-designed box makes all the difference in the world. There are some really, really, really crazy examples of that. So box is everything. You know what I'm saying? And but we were talking, and I was mentioning that I was going to be doing some refreshing to my current wall. I'm not going to be. If you guys hadn't catch, I don't know if I have a video up where I'm talking about it yet. I think I got one coming, but it hasn't actually been uploaded yet. Be the next video that you guys see me upload, which is processing right now. I've been planning to do a 6th order with 6 subs in it. Unfortunately, the stars did not align properly, so that's not going to happen, at least not right now. It may happen in the near future. I don't know. But it's not happening right now, and mostly it's because of my condition. I have all kinds of problems. So, and none of them actually, well, maybe heart disease. I have heart disease too, and that smoking can cause heart disease. But just know that my whole family, all of my dad's family and all of my mom's family, have heart disease. So, and most of them weren't smokers. So I was doomed to get it anyway. I probably got it earlier and I probably got it worse, but I was going to get it anyway. It's just inevitable. It's genetic in my case. But I have a lot of problems. Anyway, the point is we're going to be doing a 415 build, which I already had, but but things are different. Because you see, whenever I first got the 15s, the 415s that I had in my wall, the Oblivion version 1s, I got those and ran them on one 8K amplifier. And I was running 4 dual 2 ohm subs. And for those of you who don't know, when you run 4 dual 2s together, you can basically get 1 ohm out of 4 subs, which is perfect if you're running a single amplifier. Then what did I do? I got another amplifier. So now I was running two subs per amplifier at 2 ohms each, which means my amplifiers were only making about half the power that they're capable of. That shit's about to change because the subs I got coming are all dual 4 ohm. So that means dual 4s, 2 dual 4s can get you 1 ohm, which means I can run 2 subs per amp at 1 ohm, and I'm going to be doing double the power I was before with a bit of an upgrade in subs as well. And I am reworking that box, and you'll see the first video on it. I've got stuff going on, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff I plan to do. We're going to discuss that in this particular live video. So now that I've got you guys caught up, let me see what's going on in the comments here. T. Corley says, "What's up? I'm in a restaurant, but trying to watch. May not hear till later, though." God, I love you guys. Y'all are so awesome. No, I was not sleeping, Bobby. I was not sleeping. I was in the middle of processing a video, and I'll show it to you. See, it's still processing. I was editing a video, and if you take I start out with like 3 hours of footage and I edit it down to like 20 minutes. That basically means I have to watch 3 hours of video and I have to go back and trim it and all that. And then I have to go back and fix the audio. Then I have to go back and lay in music and do all the other stuff. It's hours and hours of work, and that's on top of actually recording the video and doing the work that I'm recording the video of. So it's a whole lot that goes into this. Even if you just half-ass it, it's still a lot of work. But yeah, I was editing a video, and I'm very much aware that I was going to go live tonight. I just wasn't sure if I was going to go live at approximately 8. It's scheduled for 9, but sometimes we go a little early. And the reason I went ahead and went early is because I got done with editing the video, and I'm pretty tired, so I didn't want to wait around for an hour and then go live. That's why we went live at 8. So no, I was not sleeping, Bobby. But thank you for checking on me, brother. T. Corley. Any experience with the slap smackdown? Negative, Batman. I don't have any personal experience with the SmackDown subs. I was in the process of, I was talking to Slapz about that, and that may be something that happens in the future. But I wanted to run the version 2s for a while, and these Oblivion version 2s are really pretty close to what the SmackDown version 1s are. They're pretty close. The SmackDown version 1 has got a bigger magnet, a bigger motor, and which actually is what gives it its higher wattage capacity, because it has more motor to be able to cool. But it's not a tremendous difference in between the version 2 version 2 Oblivions and the version 1 SmackDowns. Not a whole hell of a lot of difference. They're a big beefy nasty sub. The version 2 SmackDowns are on par with some of the big boy subs out there, real big boy subs. I mean, they're $500 a piece for the version 2s ish. But you do get to save 10% off if you use my discount code CAE whenever you go to purchase anything from Slapz. You're going to save 10%. That shit adds up fast. Okay. So be sure and use that. Utilize it. I get credit for the sale, and you save money. You can't lose at that. It's a no-brainer. Let's see. El Fuego. Hello from the Pacific Northwest. What's up, El Fuego? Who do you have? Big old booty sub. Yes, sir. That's the Oblivion version 2 in that video that you guys saw at the beginning there. Another 3-hour metaphor. I don't know if I'm good for 3 hours, man. We ran for 3 the last live though. That was pretty intense. What's up, Joe? Joe Berserker in the house. W said, can I talk about Sony Explodes for 3 hours? Man, if Sony would only, Sony should bring back the Explode line. I mean, even if it's just a name, because it's just too cool, and they need that right now. They need that. That would help the company and the car audio community, because they're missing out on potential sales. Bobby reminded you. Hey man, it's all good. We're all getting old, We all need reminders. Rob Richards, what's up, man? My little brother said 155.8 at 34 hertz. Yeah, baby. With 3 slaps, SmackDown 18s, version 1 on the glass. Yeah, that's nasty. 4,200 watts. First day we got the enclosure done. No loading wall. Hell yeah, man. My boy said a 55.8. That's a nice freaking high number. Once you break into the 50s, it gets really, really hard to go up, man. That's testament to a nice, well-built enclosure and some good quality stuff, man. Good electrical and everything. You guys did a good job. Excellent. Glad to hear that. Sony for 3 hours, Joe Berserker said. Cornnut is in the house. Well, yeah. The all-star installer, Mr. Cornnut, El Fuego says. W from down under. Let's see here. You guys are a hoot. T. Corley, what you got going on here, brother? I inquire about the smackdowns because I don't want to run a wall, my daily driver truck, 2 or 3 15s in a box below window line, and I can still compete with it too. Yeah, if I was running 15s below window, 3 is pushing it. If you're gonna port them, you're probably going to be wanting to run a ported box, and I would say running 2 would be the right number. And you're going to need to have all the smackdowns. I don't remember the. Hang on a second. I don't like to speak until I know. I'm very picky about that, so I go and check before I open my mouth if possible. It's not always possible. Sometimes I just stick my foot right in there, just cram it right in. The version 2 SmackDown 15s. I want to double check before I say. Okay, yeah. So 3.4 to 4.15. I would go like, if you're wanting to play low, let me see here. No, you didn't say anything about low specific. Went below window line. Um, I always err on the side of a smaller enclosure when they give you a range. So I'd probably go to like 3.5 to 3.75 cubic feet per sub. Uh, that's net after you get everything done. And then have the port, if you're wanting to compete, have the port over on the driver's side, firing into the corner of your cab. Um, yeah, that's going to give you good meter numbers and a good daily driver and get you below the window and still leave you somewhere, maybe leave you somewhere to stick a bag of groceries in the back if you have to, or a suitcase or something like that. Not a tremendous amount. There probably won't be much room at all, but you're going to want to have, 7 cubic feet or a little more total net inside that box, and then run 2 of those 15s. And with a port tune, in the, what does it say they're recommending? 28 to 33. So a 30 or 31 hertz tuning is really musical. And in the truck, you're gonna see some stupid lows in there anyway. It's gonna, in a pickup truck, it's gonna play lows good. So that's my advice. Sounds good though. Corn nut. I run extended cab Chevy most as Midwest SPL Advanced No Wall. Yeah, that'd be a solid build in my opinion. 2 of them, and like a little 7 or 7.25 or something like that net cubic feet. Port firing into the driver's side corner of the shell back there behind your seat. That's going to give you a decent SPL score because you want the port as far away from the meter as you can get it. And that would be where that would go. And you'll play real low. You try to run 3 in there, you ain't going to have enough room for a port, and your box is going to be undersized, and they're going to be struggling. It's just not a good thing. So I would recommend 2, going with that size box. You'll probably be in the 50s off of that pretty easy, without even stressing anything out. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about surfaces because I have run into this. My buddy, the mad scientist, recommended that I run tape inside the box. The metal tape. You guys have seen it. You've seen people using it. Like, why is there tape all over your box? That's what we're going to talk about. So there's actually 3 different reasons that the tape works. And I'm not sure that I'm running it, the visible part of it, yet, but I'm going to explain why you might would. The first reason is obviously the tape covers up holes. If you've got any air leak anywhere, If you line the entire inside of your box with this metal tape, it's going to stop the air leak. And that's good. That's going to eliminate that sound of that air leak, which is something that you may not even notice until you don't have it anymore. And you go, oh, wow, that sounds better. Yeah. Um, but that's not the biggest things. The biggest things are, Mr. Cornett. Yeah, yeah. The biggest things are the fact that air is very finicky about how it moves over surfaces. So if you've seen NASCAR, everybody's seen NASCAR, or an airplane, or anything that's designed to go through the air quickly, there's a whole lot of attention that goes into getting the surface as glassy smooth as possible. Even something as trivial as a piece of tape stuck to the side of the car creates a significant amount of drag. Even this, like that's why antennas went away. That's why all that stuff just changed, because every little tiny thing causes drag and noise and all that. And an antenna on your vehicle. I put a different CB antenna on my big truck once. That was one of the fire sticks instead of the metal one. That thing was noisy as hell. Just going through the wind, it made all kinds of noise. Well, anytime something is creating noise from the wind hitting it, that means it's creating heat. It's turning that, that wind, that which would be sound in our case, into heat. So if you've got noise in your box that's colliding with things, it transfers the what would be the sound, which is the moving air. Okay, transfers that into heat, turns it into heat, and you lose it. Now, if you're building an SQ vehicle, this is literally what you want to do everywhere. Every space you can find, you want stuff that's going to be soft and squishy. Soft and squishy is good for sound quality because you don't get a bunch of reflected sound. Reflected sound is hot garbage whenever you're trying to DSP a vehicle. Reflected sound is your enemy. It's your worst enemy. But whenever you're building SPL, that's different. You exactly want the opposite to that. You want that thing to sound like a freaking, gym locker room when you walk in there. You want all the echo you can possibly get. You want sound reverberating off everything. That is ideal for creating bass, giving you the best bass experience. So knowing that, and of course, the advice I would give for SPL is the opposite for SQ. Just understand that. If you're a SQ guy, just do the opposite of all this stuff. Pretty much. Well, not all of it, but most of it. So knowing that hard surface is good, knowing that we need a smooth surface for the air to travel over, that's where the tape comes in. So the second use, the first use is blocking gaps, filling holes, right? Sealing it up, picking up anything that you may have missed, a screw hole you forgot about, whatever. It's covered. It's all getting a layer. That's the first part. The second one is port. Now, in the case of the port, this is straight up can be used in SPL or SQ, either one, because it's going to help both. Using the tape and the port and on the edges and the roundovers and all that creates a glass smooth area for that air that's moving in and out of that port to move through. Now, if you got a column of air moving in a port, right, and the edges of that air are getting ruffled up by a rough surface, that shrinks the column of air that you're moving. It makes it smaller. So you're not moving as much, which means less bass. And that's an atrocity. That's horrible. When you make it glass smooth, now the air can move in and out. All of it can move and act as that air plug and that subwoofer that's basically a port is basically a big subwoofer that's adding to your whole system. So the more efficient it is, the better. And of course, most of us can't afford to go out and spend $150 on an aero port from big ass ports, or multiple cases. I'd have to buy 4 to do that sixth order I was talking about. I was going to have to buy 4 I think it was 4 6.5 inch, or yeah, 4 6.5 inch ports. If I went that route, that's like 400 bucks right there, and that's crazy money. I mean, that was my entire, that was like most of my box wood budget. That was a huge chunk of it. So I wasn't going to do that. The point is, most of us aren't going to be able to do that, especially when you have multiple subs, because you need a lot of port action. Um, and that's an expensive process. You can build your own, but again, that's another expensive process. You're just spending time instead of money, and you're going to spend some money as well. It's not cheap to be, to do it. And, pimping ain't easy. So most of us have got a slot port. And since most of us don't have a big ass router table with all kinds of fancy bits, most of us have a crappy slot port. It's like I have in my Tahoe right now. That's about to change. We're going to change it. So for those people, myself included, if you don't have the materials and the skill set, the time, and the ability to paint the interior report and sand it to beyond its freaking ability to resist your sanding anymore, just sand the crap out of it, get it glass smooth, and then body work it and then paint it and make it like a mirror. If you don't have those skills, materials, time, whatever to do that, running a layer of metal tape inside your port can give you similar results. And I don't even know, not even a comparable amount of time. So knowing that, it's an option, and you don't even have to use the tape that you see everyone use with the numbers and letters on it. You can get straight up plain silver tape. You can also get it in colors. I saw it in gold. I saw it in black. So there's options. You don't have to go all, full tinfoil on it. You can make it black and make it blend. You could also paint it, as long as you don't try to, cake on multiple layers of paint, and just put a nice little thin layer on it and still get the same or similar effects. So these are the simple ones to understand. Everybody kind of gets this, right? Everybody gets those things. The third thing, though, this is the one that I'm still trying to wrap my head totally around. And that's covering the entire internal volume of the enclosure. Now, I've seen people do this on videos. I've been watching a lot of videos on this subject so that I understand everything that there is to understand available on YouTube, as well as talking to friends that do this as well. So, how does taping the inside of the box make a difference? Well, I'm running on theory here, but I think that adding that nice slick surface in there is going to create an echo chamber. It's going to increase the echo factor. The echo factor is good when it comes to making SPL. This is where the SQ guys need to plug your ears. You don't want to do this. You could do the port, but don't do this part. This part here would go down, go away from your goals. Unless your goal is to be stupid like me, and then you're good. You're golden. Cherry, man. It's a beautiful thing. Basically, you want to, if you could tile the inside of your box, that would be ideal. If you could just take like ceramic tile and just tile the whole interior, that would be ultimate, because then you'd have a smooth, hard, rock hard surface that would create the most effect. We can't do that. It's not a reasonable thing to ask of anybody. So some hard, slick tape to cover up all the little imperfections in the wood, little knot holes, little rough parts, patches, all that stuff may not seem like it's going to be a big deal. But if you walk into a room where everything is wood, the whole room is wood paneling, wood furniture, all that stuff is wood, and you, even on a hardwood floor, and you talk, there's an echo, but it's not intense. You turn around and walk into a bathroom, it's a whole different game. And that's because fuzzy, soft, squishy stuff, and wood kind of is one of those things, absorb sound. And the last thing that you want to happen in your box, if you're trying to make sound pressure at the most you can, is get any stuck inside the wood, right? Um, it looks so wrong. Okay, it looks like, well, what did you do? You taped up the entire box, and your brain is processing that like, anytime you see something taped, it was half-assed, right? That's half-assing things. And so you automatically go, well, that was half-assed. I don't want to half-ass my stuff. Okay, I get it. That's where your brain goes immediately. What you don't realize is that tape is actually doing a whole lot. And if you're an SPL guy, you change stuff out all the time. You know, a lot of these guys I run with, they'll run 6 or 7 different boxes in a season or more. You know, and each one of those boxes may get a couple of different pairs of subs. They change crap constantly. So being able to go in and change a port and then tape it up, smooth it down, is a beautiful thing. It works perfectly for what they're wanting to do. It's a temporary solution that they can apply quickly, effectively, and inexpensively to a random adjustable kind of a situation. And also for everybody else that just don't want to go in there and shellac the whole thing and bodywork it and all that. It's really interesting. So I want to hear you guys' comments on this, and we can talk about this. I just find it very interesting stuff. I've been learning a lot about this. Let's see here. Let me go on back here. Tyler Walker says, I love the tape. Won't ever go back to not using it. Yeah. See what I'm saying? And that's a lot of people. They have rolls of this shit because they're constantly using it on everything, and their numbers back them up. It's not just like, oh, it sounds louder. No. Don't get it twisted, man. The numbers back this shit up. These guys will gain a decibel or more. I mean, they'll gain a number or more. So like going from a 50 to a 51 or going from a 50 to a 52, all from tape. So it just depends on where it's at, how bad it was before, and how good you do it after, and all that stuff. Yeah, it's kind of intense, man. Good example, Jacob Viral. Yeah, I watched a bunch of his stuff, and he swears by it. He also tested it, and you get improvements. All right, so he was able to get an improvement on the port and on the ceiling, but he didn't get an improvement when he layered the whole thing on one enclosure. I think on a different enclosure he did, but he didn't measure that one, so he wasn't sure. He swore that it was louder, but he had no numbers to back it up. The one where he measured everything and he actually took readings, he actually lost like 0.2 dB, but it was also a different time of day and the temperature was 20 degrees higher, which means your SPL goes down. So there's a whole lot of inaccuracies in that. But the point is, during the other stuff he did gain on smaller enclosures, you tend to have bigger results from this. His enclosure at that time was a super high ratio fourth, and so it was a freaking big, huge room with a little subwoofer box in the back of it, essentially. Kind of like the unofficial. It used to be Sundown Unofficial channel. Now it's Unofficial Audio or something. He took the Sundown name off of that channel, but there are some really, really, really cool videos on that channel, guys. T. Cordy said, I run 412s right now. There are over 20 Badirs. Sometimes I try to pronounce it just for the hell of it. That are over 412s that are over 20 Badirs old. And the box is over 22. Holy crap, man. Running 1500 watts right now because it's 2 ohm load. New amp made for 1 ohm. Old amp was 4,000 watts. Sick, bro. Box was made for Explorer. Did a lot better numbers than it, but had more power too. Yeah, the shape of your vehicle is huge. It's like as much as important as the box. And the whole setup. You can pull a whole setup out of one vehicle and put it in another one and get completely different results from it. And even if it's the same vehicle, like you pull a setup out of a Tahoe and put it in another Tahoe, it ain't necessarily going to work as well, or it may work better. It's weird, man. Things sound is weird. Bass will find a way. Joe Berserker said, I'm 50-50 on the metal tape, SPL. I have printed to fill up the wood pores. May use epoxy this next time. Yeah, that's another option. I'm actually considering that myself. That's why I said I'm not sure if I'm going to be using it to cover the walls. But I did want to talk about it because it's a even though it may be a quick and easy fix, it's still a fix. And if creating this super slick glassy surface is a thing, there are many ways to do that, not just with tape. But with tape, you can actually do it pretty quick and figure it out pretty quick, and it don't cost you much or take a whole lot of effort to do it. So there's that. That's why it's an interesting subject. It's not about the way the problems are solved. It's about doing this thing to solve the problem. There's many ways to get there, but does the glassy, smooth, hard surface increase SPL? That's the question. El Fuego said, I use black electrical tape to cover the check engine light. I'm going to tell you, man, you're probably joking, but I did that on my Toyota once. I had a Toyota car. That Toyota had a fifth gear that wouldn't stay in. It was a manual. It wouldn't stay in fifth gear, and it had a check engine light that I never could get rid of. Took the dash apart, put a piece of electrical tape over the check engine light, put the dash back together again, fixed it. Fixed the shifter. You guys know the little, if you work at a factory or any kind of big warehouse, those super thick, hard cardboard rolls that the plastic wrap comes on that you wrap up the pallets and stuff. Cardboard rolls, they're like an inch thick edges. I had one of those, and I cut a notch out of one side of it, and I used that. I'd stick it on my gear shift. So I put that notch on my gear shift, put it in fifth, that notch on my gear shift, and shove that back in down in this little crevice between my seats, and it would hold it in fifth gear for me. Yeah, I fixed the fifth gear too. Teenagers, man. Actually, I was in my 20s at that time. Just work with it. Brian said, I seal boxes with Flex Seal and spray. Sure. Getting the seal is the thing. That's one part of it, though. That's just one part. The seal is tape can seal, yes. Paint can seal, all that stuff can seal. But that's not what we're talking about. The sealing thing I get. I totally get that. And the port thing, I get that too, because it makes sense. It's the other part, that last thing. Is the tape keeping the sound waves from being absorbed by the wood? Is that actually increasing volume? Is it making my shit louder? Does it scare the old ladies more if it has smooth internal walls? That's the question. Concrete enclosures. I think, you know what, and I totally agree, Dubby. If we could all, the best thing to do is drive a bank vault, because the thicker, the harder the substances that your box is made out of, the better. You don't want the box to make any sound. And so anything that can vibrate even a little bit is not ideal. Concrete or real thick glass is going to work great, but those two things are very heavy. But let's look into that. Let's say that the concrete's a thing. What if the concrete's finish on the inside is rough, and on the other one, it's glass smooth? Is the two of those going to have a different amount of output, a different amount of bass, given all of the rest of the perimeters are exactly the same? Fuego, wasn't there some AU guys that had a concrete vehicle? I don't know about a concrete vehicle, but I've seen concrete enclosures in vehicles. You're basically not going to drive it. It's going to be one of those where you roll it off a trailer and pull it up to the meter, and that's it. That's how that works. It's got to drive up to the meter, and that's it. I've been to shows where people trailered their vehicle up to the meter because the transmission had blown out. The damn thing would move under its own power, but they metered it anyway on the trailer. I've seen that happen. Been to one of those shows. Yes. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, W, but I think I got close. Dub said, not that I know of. Well, them Aussies, man, they'll shove a subwoofer up a kangaroo's ass and smack it and send it over the line. And it's so much to do 150 just bouncing across the line, man. They'll put 10 15s in a ute. An Outback vehicle, one of those Explorer vehicles, Yeah. I think Aussies are cool. If I could move to any other country, it would definitely be Australia. 100%. Because I've met a bunch of them. When I was working with the Carnival years ago, we had a lot of Australian guys. They bought equipment from us, used equipment. And we see them all the time. And those guys were always a hoot to be around. They were just a blast. Very, very friendly. Straight up people, man. Love them. Aussies are awesome. Stu said, good evening, gents. Mullen has the concrete floor in his wagon. Yeah, there's that's kind of a thing too, and I'm actually considering now, I've thought about it a little bit, is pouring a thin layer of concrete in your front floorboard to prevent it from flexing. It's a really inexpensive way to create a very hard floor. Concrete doesn't flex. It'll either stay stiff or it's going to crack. If it doesn't crack, then you're good. And if you use fiberfill concrete, then you don't have to worry about it cracking. Fiberfill concrete is, it's stuff. It's real stuff. What's up, Stu? Stu is in the house. Hostile Hair said, "Off fuego. I feel you." Whoa, where'd you go? You went shooting up. I have to rein that in. I lost track of you. I've lost you. Oh, there you are. I feel you there. 225,000 miles. You're going to have some check engine lights. Hell yeah, man. What are we talking about? Stu, we're talking about base and tape. That's pretty much the subject. Tape and boxes. Yes, carpet is bad for SPL. Soft, cushiony seats that your butt loves to sit in are bad for SPL. Those flexible door panels made out of plastic and that dash made out of plastic, all the stuff that feels nice to your body feels bad to base. But I'm willing to compromise in certain areas. My butt needs cushion. I do not need to sit on a bench, and I want to be able to lean back and relax and be comfortable when I'm in my shit. Mine is not. I don't trailer mine to the lot and then sit there like this and oh yeah, it's hitting real hard, dude. You're in an enclosure. You're not even in a vehicle. You're in a freaking enclosure. That's what you're in. You're in to just crawl in the subwoofer box and just put your little tent in there. That's what you did. You made the whole thing into an enclosure. There's nowhere for people in here. You just shove people in there and go boom. Nah, I'm not into that, man. I got to have a comfy space to live, so I'm going to sacrifice base for comfort, for cushion. But where I can do it, I'm going to do it. Dub said metal tape and SPL, Stubby. Yes, sir. Hostile Hair, metal tape and boxes. Y'all are all catching him up. Good deal. Let's see here. Stu said, I've always heard the key to SPL is to minimize your losses. So I suppose it makes sense. Exactly. It's, yeah. I mean, 1% doesn't seem like a big number until you have 10 of them or 20. They accumulate. It's like not cleaning, You're like, oh, I'm going to just throw my socks over there in the corner. Big deal. The room is clean except for those socks, and it'll be all right. I'll get them tomorrow. But then you forget about them, and you're like, oh, I see them socks there. I'll just throw my shirt. Before you know it, your whole house is a disaster, and you didn't do it all at once. It's just it accumulates a little bit at a time until you have to stay on top of it. Either that or you got to get married and your wife stays on top of it because, like me, I'm chaos incarnate. My shit's a just complete disaster area. But after 20 years now, more than that. Yeah, we're working on 25 years. After that length of time being around somebody, my wife has learned my perimeters. She cleans everything outside of the certain area and she leaves my area alone because it's just pointless. Give up. She gives up. Every little bit counts, W said. Uh, exactly. That can actually happen. Um, I've seen guys test literally with their sun visor up and then flip it down part of the way, like a 45-degree angle, and gain from that on the meter. It's little things, and it all adds up. I move my, I have to move my passenger seat all the way forward. Yes, and lean it forward. Whenever I do a run, if I want to get max, sometimes I won't. It depends on how hard how loud I'm wanting to be, because I can kind of sandbag like that. If I don't do any of those things, it'll be a little bit lower. But if I'm trying to give somebody a fighting chance that I know I'm going to destroy at the line, I'll hold back on certain little things so that I'm not quite as loud, or I'll play a different tune that's not quite as loud, or I just won't crank it as much. Yeah, I know, but to me, hanging out with people and giving everybody a good time, especially newer guys, because I run a lot. When running that class I was running, and I'm not going to be running this next year, but running the class I've been running, I run with a lot of brand new people. I don't want to discourage them by destroying them at the meter. So sometimes I'd let them win. Sometimes I'd beat them, but I wouldn't beat them by much. That encourages them to come back and try harder next time. If you just totally decimate them, they're like, man, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't even belong here. And that's not what you want to do with your new people. Um, I'll get to that in a second. Pasture all the way forward. Bobby B says, can't wait for the interview with CAO. I was supposed to do that already. That was scheduled for Thursday. And I failed. I was asleep. And my body is not right. So I slept. And then I woke up and I still had time when I woke up, but I was in the middle of other stuff and I just completely forgot about it. I talked to him though. We're going to reschedule it. And I think we're going to schedule it for this coming Sunday. I sent him back. Let me look and see if he's replied. So the tentative, let me see here. Disappointed. Do you want to do it for next week? Or maybe I want to make sure we're on the same page. Next week. Now, where's it at? Sunday. Yeah, so we're talking about like Sunday, like 2 days from now at 5. So heads up on that. I'll try to put something up in the thing when I know for sure, but that's the plan. So we're working on it, man. And he's talking about car audio obsessed, doing an interview with me. We're working on it. I'm just an idiot, an inconsiderate, lazy idiot. So, and we have to work around that because I realize I have that problem, and therefore I have to structure my world around the fact that I'm an inconsiderate, lazy, procrastinating idiot, and then we can get something done despite of me. Laminar flow. Yeah. And that brings up another point, though. The golf ball. The golf ball. Hang that out there on the limb for you guys to think about a minute. A perfectly smooth golf ball travels half as far as one with dimples. And not only that, but Mythbusters did a test where they actually covered a car with golf ball dimples, and the efficiency on it increased. It got better gas mileage. And the airlines have been talking about doing the texture surfaces to increase airflow over their surfaces with that kind of a thing. And it's happened in NASCAR where they covered the whole roof with a rough surface and they gained from that. So the difference though is all of those cases, the surface was rough, but it was consistently rough. It wasn't randomly rough. And I think that has something to do with it. A consistent like sandpaper versus, just something with stuff all over it. Like it's consistently rough, therefore it can create a certain effect over it. I think they say it creates micro turbulence around the surface where it's rough, and that micro turbulence ends up making a pillow for the air to flow on. So it essentially turns a smooth surface into a smoother surface, kind of like putting ball bearings on air. But as with most things that are potentially awesome, it's rather difficult to dial in exactly right, which is why all airplanes don't have golf ball dimples. You know, but it is a thing, something to consider. Bobby's talking smack. Let's see here. Bobby said, I wonder if heavily lacquered with piano finish would be better. Sure. I'm 100% sure it would be. But there's a reason why something that's constructed in that way costs so much money, because there's a whole lot of this involved. I mean, you got layers and layers and layers of sanding, you know, uh, primering, bodyworking, sanding, primering, bodyworking, sanding. And then, after hours and hours and hours of that, you end up with the thing. Um, Most base heads do not have nowhere near that much patience or time uh, or energy. So tape it is. Uh, you know, but yeah, I 100% think it would. But nobody's going to do that. And then not only that, but you're going to do all that time body work in the interior of a box that no one's ever going to see. The base head's not going to do that, dude. Have you seen the cars? They have a ratchet strap holding the box in place. It's just not going to happen. I mean, you're lucky if they have fuses on anything. Base heads are crazy people. They are not going to put that effort into it. But yeah, it would. Uh, T. Corley. Yeah, I bet the 3M tape. Essentially, there's other, you can get it off brand too. But yeah, same concept. Um, you'll probably gain from that. You probably will. I mean, if it was an ancient box and I wanted to keep it around and it had lots of leakiness to it, I'd probably just like, um, what's the stuff called now? I can't think. A resin, resin coat the whole box. Even fiberglass resin would work fine. Any kind of resin, something that'll sink into the pores and give the whole box kind of a new rigid meat to it, and then the cracks and everything. That's going to handle the leak problem. It isn't necessarily going to give you the smoothness, though, just leakiness. It'll make this thing stronger. It'll make it a little heavier, but it'll make it stronger. It'll fill up any spots that have got a little water damage here or there or anything like that. Tyler said the tape helps for wind as well as SPL. Helps support noise. I can totally see that happening, yes. I love it because it's so cheap. Yeah. 2 rolls did the entire wall minus the face. I think the results are better with MDF over ply. Probably. MDF has its shortcomings. It's heavy, and it absolutely hates water. Hates water. Shit dissolves into a powder. If water just looks at it too hard, that shit runs. But on the plus side, it gives you very consistent surfaces to glue and screw to. It's less expensive than plywood. It is heavier, but it's consistent and it's solid and it's really smooth. So, in a lot of ways, it's better than plywood. Plywood is stronger than MDF overall, sheet to sheet, is lighter than MDF, but it's also more expensive. And the edges are different. Everything's different. The if you get stuff that's got a really nice finish, it's going to cost you a lot. So there's drawbacks and favor. Both of them have their points. If you're building a box on a serious budget, money wise, MDF box is what you want to work with. But if you're trying to save weight and you can afford to go a little plywood, you're gonna save a lot of weight with that. Also, if it ever might see water, plywood, at least on the outside layers. You can use MDF to build up the beef on the inside. Build the shell and then work the inside with MDF to get you the thickness that you want. But yeah. Rob Richards says, instead of tape, I use fiberglass resin the entire inside of my enclosure. 2 coats and several coats to all the corners. Entire outside of the enclosure is rhinoline. Sounds good, brother. That's an excellent plan. And I'll buy that 100%. I just caught Joe's message. But yeah, and I agree with that. It's a bit of a pain for me right now because my box is installed, and half or a third of my surfaces are vertical, and a third of my surfaces are a ceiling, and that's how they have to stay. So getting resin on that's a little bit trickier. So we're figuring it out. I'm still working the problem though. Joe Berserker. Joe Berserker said, I like my tacos with smooth walls, but not too smooth. No, you got to have a little bit of texture. Um, Stu said, I've also seen tests that show just how porous MDF actually is. Yeah, vacuum attached to one sheet and it held another sheet to it. That's crazy. Yeah, the particles, depending on how small the particles are, you can still get air through it. That's intense. I didn't realize that was out there. I'll have to look for that. That sounds fun. Seeing one sheet get vacuumed to another sheet straight through the one sheet, that's crazy. Uh, that's crazy stuff. T. Corley says, I only have 2 shows with this amp. I knew my Explorer seat slid up with a person in it. Seat leaned as far forward as possible. Window up. Oh yeah. If you're allowed to put a passenger in a vehicle on meter, in some classes you are. But if you're allowed to put somebody over there, you are shrinking that space. You're going to increase the base. The more around where the meter is, the more you close that space in with whatever, the more you trap those sound waves in there and the more pressure you build on that meter. That's why the sun visor can actually increase it because it actually traps sound waves behind it. A piece of cardboard could raise your rate, could increase you to a couple of numbers, put in the right spot. It doesn't have to be something really thick. It just needs to be there to block sound waves, not necessarily to block like moving air, like pressure, but just to reflect the sound waves. Like just making a wall in your vehicle out of cardboard is going to give you about 90% of what a hard, solid wall would give you. It's most of it's there already. It doesn't take much to do it. Let's see here. I've already experimented with that. It's pretty crazy. 1/4-inch plywood. Yeah. It's going to flop around, but it's still going to build pressure. W said, we got the Explode Boys here that are abusing the P5s. 148 at 47 hertz with 3 explodes for one of the guys. Hell yeah, man. That's good times. Rocking them old explodes and pulling big numbers. That's good stuff. Testament to the box builder. That's honestly where the money is right there, is the box. the box is built right, man, you can do stupid shit. You know, with Sundown Unofficial, he had a 600 watt Sundown full bridge amplifier that he was testing on the back of the Blazer, which is an SPL Blazer. The Blazer pulls 170s on the meter in competition with two subs, two 18s. Yeah, 170s with two 18s at 60 hertz. Um, so he had unhooked the amp rack and he just had a single 600 watt Sundown full bridge amp back there. He kept cranking it up. In the end, he got it up to 1,500 watts he was getting out of that thing at like a quarter ohm. And he got up to like a 161.5 with a 600 watt amplifier on two 18s. This is all documented, guys. As you can look at, you can watch it. I know it's like, what? Yeah. I've watched that video multiple times because it just blows my mind every time I see it. And it's all the build, the box. That's what it is. Now, this thing is crazy, but those numbers are real, and that's what he got from that amplifier. Very impressive. T. Corley said the truck door open, big difference for SPL down, ready to get new subs in box though over the winter, hopefully, maybe with the tape. Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's tape. If the shit don't work, then you can leave it in there or you can take it back out. It's not that freaking difficult. That's the beauty of tape. It's just tape. You know, you stick it in there. You spend an hour in there sticking tape in there. It ain't gonna hurt. Play it and live it. What's up, man? Pleasant good night to my fellow Basehead family here. How is the night going? What's on for tonight? We're talking about tape, metal tape, and enclosures, and all the different uses, and whether or not it actually does the thing. What's up, Pooh? Pooh said hello. Nice to have you, man. John said, do you like dubstep? I found some yesterday and it's fantastic. I actually, you know what's funny about dubstep? I missed dubstep. I missed it when it launched into the world. I don't know if I was incarcerated during that time or what, but I missed it. I missed the whole dubstep craze. But then later, I've been incarcerated. And, it is what it is. I got caught. So I missed it. So later on, when I discovered it, I was like, ooh. And I'm a hardcore dubstep guy. There's certain stuff that it gets too bonkers and I don't like it. But if you like dubstep, Google Knife Party, like Knife Party. And the name of the track is Centipede. Find that and crank the snot out of it. You'll love it. That's one of my favorite tracks. And I haven't demoed with that in a while, but I may demo with it this next season. It's an old track now, but it's a good one, man. It's got a great surprise bass at the beginning of it. It builds, and then you just bam, it just drops the hammer. Oh, it's great stuff, man. I love it. A lot of energy. I did say hello to you, Pooh. Hi, Pooh. It's Tuesday. It's Wednesday. All right. No, it's not Wednesday. Mods. That's good stuff. T. Corley, I might try the tape on the port of my old ass box because the wood is getting a little messed up. See if it helps. What do you got to lose, man? Stick some tape on it and see what happens. Measure it though. I mean, measure it before, measure it after. Do some science. Use science. The difference between goofing around and science is writing it down. If you write it down, then it's science. If you don't write it down, you were just goofing off. Let's see here. I don't have. Oh, you're talking to John Hostile Harris. Who's your favorite WJ? I don't have a favorite. I don't know enough about it, but I know that I enjoyed quite a few tracks from dubstep. My buddy likes this song called Itchy and Scratchy. I don't think it's considered dubstep. I don't remember, but it's a lot of noise. It's it's very active. It's very intense. He uses it to tap people out all the time with the high bass notes. So yeah, Robert, if you're watching, Itchy or not Robert, Tommy. Tommy's the one that runs Itchy and Scratchy. Yeah, that's his tap out song. Yeah, he loves it. I don't remember what it is. Look it up. Itchy and Scratchy is the name of the song. You'll know it when you hear it. You'll be like, oh, yeah, that's definitely what he was talking about. Uh, Joe said, my peeps, I'm going to take off. My nose is running and my face is upside down. Sir, when your face, it's time to take a break when your face does the upside down thing. So yeah, I'm totally good with that. Oh my goodness, you guys are so fun. These nuts, what's up, nuts? Let's see here. I'm eating popcorn and enjoying the show. I prefer Lane or Lance Butler flavor. Tip of the day: use an O scope to set your gains. Yeah, 100%. That's a good tip. If you got one. If you don't got one, just don't clip the shit. Call it good. Or don't clip it too long, too hard, you know? Yeah. I mean, you can get away with anything once, right? Uh, I'm thinking of all kinds of horrible jokes that I can't make right now. Golf ball nipples in the box would be interesting. I don't know about SPL, but it would increase wind flow for floating demo builds, I bet. That's the thing that's cooking in my head. I just don't know. Um, I don't know, man. It's an interesting concept, Tyler. Rick Ross is in the house. What's up, Rick? Let's see here. I have the lawnmower lady on speed dial. What's up? Ben Burning, welcome to the channel. Never trust a dude whose lithium battery exploded on him. Error use. Hey, man, you know what? I trust the guy whose lithium battery exploded and he's running lithium again and it ain't exploded. I want to know what he did different. Because he's already been there. The other people that ain't never had one explode, they ain't been there yet. They don't know shit. They're just lucky. But you know, it is what it is. And technically, my lithium battery did not explode. It caught on fire. There's a big difference in the explosion and a fire. And that was a headway cell, headway bank. Uh, yeah, no doubt. The lawnmower man, or the lawnmower woman, lawnmower lady. That's what he said. Um, what's up, guys? Lawnmower lady mode in the rain today. I just don't feel like filming. Good stuff, man. Rick said, "Damn, gonna rust the lawnmower." Hey, man, you know, if you ain't using it, then it ain't worth having, is it? You gotta abuse it a little bit, if, you know, or it's just kind of sitting around not doing anything. Stu said, "Where do you stand on a fuse debate?" Oh, there's many of those. Fuse is to protect all the components in the circuit, or fuse is to protect the wire. Fuse protects the wire. I mean, that's what it does. If the fuse blows, the wire loses power, and therefore shit don't burn down. As far as protecting the components, if the components are being damaged by current that's high enough to blow the fuse, like, okay, I'll give you an example. So, and there's good points to be made, but I'm gonna explain why I think they're mute. Okay, so you got your amplifier and you got a fuse right before the amplifier on a power wire. Some people say, well, that's going to protect the amplifier if there's an internal short. Fair. Here's the problem. If the amplifier is pulling, if it's like mine's an 8,000 watt amplifier, it's pulling 800 amps at full tilt boogie. So I've got a fuse for 800 amps. Okay. 800. Actually, in my case, I got 2 power wires, so I'll be fusing for 400. 400 amps. If anything happens in that amplifier, any kind of short happens in an amplifier that's capable of making enough contact to pull over 800 amps through the short and blow the fuse before it damages whatever made that short in that amplifier, it's just not going to work. You're swatting flies with a sledgehammer. It's not going to work. The fuse is not going to blow because of a short that's going to be something small that's going to blow before the fuse will. That's what I'm saying. Anything in the amplifier that's capable of shorting out is going to melt down and blow and just explode in there before that 400 amp fuse is going to pop. Simple. All right. That's why I don't believe in doing it. No matter what equipment it is, the equipment is going to be the fuse. It's going to be the weakest link. It's going to go poof before the fuse opens. When you're dealing with crazy amounts of power, it just doesn't work. That's why the amps don't come with a fuse in them, because it doesn't work. It would be pointless. And that's my take on it. Hopefully I made myself clear. Still people out there that run fuses right before their shit, that's fine. You know what it is good for? It's good for taking the power off. If you want to disconnect the amplifier, you can just pull the fuse and that makes that wire dead. It's great use for it. But that's really the only use, is being able to deaden the circuit. Still a valid thing though. So y'all think about what I said. It'll make sense to you in a minute. I'd rather fuse core components. Nothing wrong with it. I just don't think it does any good. It's just my opinion, you know. And there's an argument about that. Yeah, that's it, man. CCA. That ain't nothing but hell. That CCA is a damn fuse. The whole damn wire is. Stu's Custom Shop. I always have two. Apparently, there's a huge debate over it. Yeah. Well, hopefully that what I said will make some sense. You know, I thought about it a lot. What's up, Will Jabot? Anything that helps reflect and direct sound waves. Yes. So the question is, does the metal tape actually help in the box? We all agree. I think we all agree that if you have a rough port opening, it would help with airflow in the port. And I'm sure we all agree that it will absolutely plug up a hole, air leaks and things like that. You may not see in the box in the corners and stuff. You may have missed a screw or whatever. It will help. It will seal that up. The question is, will it, if it's on the walls of the box, just covering the interior of the box with metal tape, does that increase SPL or output in any way? That's the question. In case you guys are tuning in the later amount of time here. Dub said, meh, I'd rather let amps live. And that'd be cool. Agreed. But it's like, think about that. And the only thing I've been able to get from people is that if the amp has an internal short, the fuse will blow. But will it? Will it really blow? I mean, you know, you're gonna, if you're running full tilt. I mean, if you're hammering, like you're giving it the full plate of beans, which is what would happen if you had an amplifier fail. Most likely, it would be going full tilt. If that happened, let's say you're pulling 400 amps through a 400 amp fuse. We all know that fuse ain't going to blow instantly with a little bit more amperage. Okay. So by the time that internal short has happened in that amplifier and caused enough extra power to be going through that system to blow that fuse, push it up another 20, 30, 100 amps extra. By the time that whole thing has occurred, that amp is fried. I mean, it is a piece of bacon in a metal box by the time that fuse blows. Just saying. It's gone. It's way beyond gone. Now, where it might come in handy at that point, maybe there's an argument to be made for after the amp catches on fire or is melting into a clump of metal and circuit board inside the enclosure, the maybe some metal will melt down there and connect the positive and negative. At that point, and once once the thing has gone full freaking snowman inside the box and has created a puddle of metal, then you'd be able to pull enough extra current through that fuse to blow it, and thus not blowing up your battery. So, but as protecting the equipment, it's not going to protect the equipment. Like I said, you're hunting flies with a sledgehammer. You're going to destroy more shit with the hammer than you're going to the fly would ever hurt. The two things just don't line up. There's too much power involved. That's the big deal. Is the windshield flexing? Well, the windshield's always flexing, baby. Y'all check it out, man. When they come for you. He's got all the fuses. All the fuses, baby. That's two 18s in there. I'm just having fun, guys. Don't blame me. Blame the piano player. Blame the freaking piano player. Where am I at? Where did I leave off at? Okay, I know where I left off at. Do I think a windshield brace is beneficial? Working with a panoramic roof and only a single ported 15 in a Lincoln. Depends on what you're trying to do, man. If you're just beating the block and you're not busting windshields, then you don't need to worry about it. But if you're actually trying to compete, panoramic roof too, that means your roof is weak as it is. It's probably got a strong B-pillar that runs over it, and it may have a reinforced bit up by the windshield, but I mean, if it's moving and you put a brace on it and stop it from moving, it's going to increase your SPL. Is it something that you need to worry about with that level of build? And if you're not competing, no. That would be a waste of money, and it would be an inconvenience that you're not going to see enough gain from that. But if you're competing, then yeah, it would probably help if the roof is moving, if it's flexing. And that open roof, like I have a sunroof in my Tahoe underneath. I've covered it completely up. It's been sealed up, but it's up there. Getting that thing out of the picture is going to increase SPL. But if you're more interested in having your sunroof, then don't sweat that. So the answer is yes, no, depending on situation. That's where Stu said, is the windshield flexing? That's exactly what I said. Yeah. Basically, that's the question you ask. If the windshield's flexing, a roof brace is the thing. But if you're not pulling crazy numbers, you didn't say what you're getting out of it. But if you're not pulling crazy numbers, then it's not a big deal. Feel for the panoramic roof. Yeah, no shit, dude. That's a huge pain in the ass. It's a huge pane of glass, pain in the ass. William Biddle. Hello, sir. Welcome. Anyone running black brick subwoofers out there? Black bricks. Negatory Batman. I don't have any experience with them. I've heard about them, but I haven't had any experience with them. But maybe somebody in chat will help you though. Matt Markin, excuse me. Welcome. Um, haven't ran it yet. It's got the engine swap. See the Jeep bill with one and increased sound pressure. Yeah, will. A bar, a stripper pole will increase sound pressure. But you got to understand about bass is, and I tell this to all my friends, it's like whenever you stop bass from one place, it's going to move somewhere else. Bass, like dinosaurs, bass always finds a way. If you seal up one area, it's going to go somewhere else. So if it's flexing your roof and you stop that, it's going to start flexing something else. That's just how bass works. Hostile Hair said, I got to run. Keep banging. Keep banging. Stu said, I would say any extra rigidity is just going to help. Absolutely. Yep. Agreed. Itchy Scratchy. Itchy Scratch or whatever it is. Yeah, it's an interesting song. I'm reserving judgment. I've heard it a couple of times, and I have it hits a bunch of boxes for me, and I'm trying to figure out which ones are more important. But Tommy loves it, so there's that. What do you think about the 8-inch Punisher sub? I'm running 4 with the Taramps 3K. Fixing another 3K. Fixing to add another 3K and 4 more. Well, I'm going to tell you, the key words are, you said, I am impressed myself so far. That's the most important piece of information. It's not about what anybody else thinks necessarily. It's about what you think. Now, if you're demoing your build and people are getting in there and they're liking it, then that's great. If they're looking at you going, man, is that it? You either got to stop demoing or set your bar lower or get more subs. I don't know. But if they're getting into it, however it is, if they're enjoying it, then or if it does the numbers that you want it to do on the meter, that's all those things matter. What I think, I don't know. I don't have an opinion on them. I think the build sounds cool though. I don't have an opinion on the specific subwoofer that you're using. The Taramp 3K is a good amp as long as you don't have any issue. Because Taramp's like a glass amp. It does amazing things and will continue to do amazing things until it breaks. And it just breaks. They kind of break. The lower powered ones seem to be, from my experience, seem to be a little less prone to breaking. The 15K and the 30K are very prone to violently breaking. So stick with the 8K and down on those and probably okay. Make It Stronger by Ghost Rider. That sounds good. I'll have to look that up. Hi, and Trenton said, I just bought a speaker. That's the first step. Welcome to the world of bass. Emmett Bishop dropping the tacos in the house.
Crushing on these tacos, we buy the Fiesta. Guac on the side, man, you know it's the best. Lettuce and salsa, stack it high, make it pop. Crunch in my mouth, can't stop, won't drop. Sliver scissor in, flavor's cold is so sweet. After one taco, I'm in for a repeat. Bite after bite, got me dancing in my seat. Hitting up the taqueria, can't face defeat. Taco love in every single bite. Feeling good, every feast all night.
I love that little spider, dude. Emmett Bishop said, hippo character runs at high speed, his legs forming a ball-like blur. I have zero idea what the hell he's talking about, but it sounds entertaining, and I would watch it. I also like watching Looney Tunes. Guys, as you know, side note, because you know me, I'm always side note. I'm a side note kind of guy. if you watch Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam and Daffy Duck and all that stuff, all those wonderful Foghorn Leghorn, all those cartoons, um, that stuff was made in the 50s, guys, in the 1950s. They really didn't make much of it at all after the 60s, the early 60s. That shit was made in like 58, 59, 55, 56. And it's still so good. You know what I mean? It's just really, really pretty and clear and clean and great entertainment. And it was made a very long time ago. When I was a kid, it was old. Wow. Thought I'd throw that wonderful little chunk of information out there. It's mind bending. All that stuff was made so, so long ago. Well, Jibbo. Anthony Jackson, a buddy, was running 4 of the Punishers on 15s. Oh, yeah. And Stu mentioned that he liked the 8-inch Punishers better than the 10s. They probably run the same motor as the 10s, if I'm guessing. Usually it's like if there's a 6, it'd be 6, 8, and 10 on one motor, and then 12, 15 on another motor, and then another motor for the 18. That's usually the way the lines work in most subwoofers. Sometimes the 15 and 8, the 12, 15, and 18 will share the same motor. In that case, if you're wanting the most efficient subwoofer, you would want to pick the one with the biggest motor on the compared to cone. You're going to get more motor force for cone area. So that's another thing. Just because you got 618s, someone who takes and puts 1212s in of the same exact driver with the bigger motor is actually going to get more out of it. You know, and depending on a lot of other stuff, but it's a thing, man. So if you're wanting high motor force, you want to use the smaller cone with the bigger motor from that line. In certain scenarios, that works great. Other scenarios, just big ass cone area is going to be king. And Emmett, thank you for the donation, my friend. Thank you for the tacos. Gomez, what's up, man? There's a lot of indie dance electric songs that slam. I'm a big fan of exactly that stuff. I found I'm really enjoying trap style music and dubstep. I need to do a guys, if you want to have some fun, go over to Suno and type in something like trap dubstep country and let it come up with a song. Some of this shit is just off the chain. Funny stuff. Butterscotch, goddamn song has a huge deep knot. Sweet. Wilbo. Yeah, we already covered that one. Okay, let's go on down here. Anthony Jackson. That's awesome. Mine is banging on just for inverted on an underseat box. People think I have 12s. I can't wait getting a custom box for the 8.8 subs, 2 times 3Ks. That's going to be a nasty build, man, for real. Regardless of any damn thing else, it's going to be a nasty ass little build. Lamp cord, gang, respect. Hell yeah, man. I'll never go back to using CCA after I saw how good lamp cord was for my Smart 8K. Hey, at least it's copper. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. If you want to know how bad CCA sucks, if you go to the dollar store and buy a freaking cord, extension cord for like $2, and you strip it down, that son bitch is solid copper. Every piece of metal in it is copper. Why? Why? Because aluminum is just not good for making wires. It's bad, even though it's less expensive. And when you know, copper's where it's at. They used copper in the freaking rockets that went to the moon when ounces were a big deal. Big, huge deal. Ounces of weight were a big deal. And they used copper wire instead of aluminum. Why? They wanted the shit to be reliable and not catch on freaking fire inside the damn rocket. Because rockets and fire equals dead astronauts, and dead astronauts equals bad PR, and that all costs money. It ain't about doing that. So they sent that extra weight in copper up there because they knew they could rely on it. You know, they also didn't solder any joints. There's no soldering of any wire joints in the missiles and rocket programs. All those wires are either terminated with a lug or they're like a twist lock kind of a connection. No solder in there anywhere because solder fails quickly. Solder fails completely. A twisted wire may fail, but it's going to fail sporadically. It may have a little bit of a short that comes and goes, but even coming and going is better than going and staying gone. You know, when you're dealing with the vibrations and all that, if you want to know how to wire some shit, just look at the Apollo rockets. That's it. That's going to tell you everything you need to know about building a base system. How do you wire it? Just look at that. That's how you make some shit that don't fall apart. And they had zero failures. It was an excellent system. I'm just going with history, man. History will teach you a lot if you take the time to learn about it, even if it's not directly in the subject matter that you think you're interested in. Learning the stuff around that subject, like electrical wiring in houses, electrical wiring in cars, electrical wiring in rockets. All those things have certain things in common, and those little things can teach you so much about sound. You know, how sound behaves in the ocean, how sound behaves. You can look up sonar and how that works. You'll learn more about how to build boxes by learning about how sonar works. You know, it's crazy, man. Replace some literal lamp cord and a side-by-side today. Hell yeah, man. Let's see here. You guys are so funny. Stu said, I feel like your amp or whatever component blows the fuse. It's already done. Yep. But I also don't want to see other people running 300 amp fuses on zero gauge wire to 1,000 watt amp. Fair. So, you know, I mean, you fuse, as far as that goes, it's fair, man. It's fair. But, I mean, it makes sense to run a 100 amp fuse on a 1,000 watt amp. Makes total sense. But is it really going to make a difference if the amp has a problem? Now, you know, if you're running a 1,000 watt amp, do you need zero gauge wire? No. I mean, if you run your zero gauge up to a distribution block that's fused on its output, and you could run an 8 gauge wire with that for a short distance, or a 4 gauge. 4 gauge would be what I would probably run. Actually, I'd probably run zero gauge, but you could get away with 8 or 4 gauge pure copper wire over a short distance from a block to the amp, and then you could fuse that block so that wire is fused. But the question becomes more about, would it save the amplifier? It would save the wire if you're using a smaller gauge wire that can't take as much power. Putting a fuse on it's appropriate. But if you're running zero gauge, so the wire is the same, would the fuse help? Would it make any difference? You know, that's the question. It's not a bad practice. Don't get me wrong. I would do the same thing, especially when I'm dealing with customer cars. If I'm building something for somebody else, unless they specifically tell me not to, you know, I'm going to put fuses everywhere, just all over the place. But building it for myself, I have to cross that bridge, one fuse or no fuse at a time. But yeah, I agree with you, Stu. I still don't know if it would actually help, but it makes sense to do it that way, to put a smaller fuse, a fuse rated for what the amplifier needs. Should subs have fuses? I say yes, until you know how to use them. Subs? You're talking about putting a fuse in between the amp and the sub? That's actually been done. They have breakers. Uh, some of the old, some of the modern car audio equipment, a few companies put breakers on their tweeters and stuff. And once you go over a certain amount of power, they'll trip the breaker. Then the breaker will reset. It's a bimetal thermal switch, so it'll thermally, disconnect, and then after it cools down, it'll reconnect. That's been done in speakers for a long time. It's not done in car audio much anymore, and nobody does that intentionally in a build because we're stupid and we kill flies with sledgehammers. But yeah, it's a reasonable thing, and especially for a newbie, a new car audio guy, it might not be a bad thing, but it would get annoying real fast in my world because I'll be tripping that sucker constantly, and that would create its own problem. It's like Audio Dynamics released when they first started releasing their new stuff when the company was brand new. They were releasing some wicked good amplifiers that had a the gain didn't matter where you set it. It would automatically adjust the gain to the song, and it also, so when you cranked it up, it would do a limiter on it where it wouldn't allow the power to go up past clipping. It's basically anti-clipping circuitry, which to any SQ guy out there, you're like, oh my God, I want those amplifiers because they just wouldn't clip. Problem though occurred that the vast majority of the people that bought the equipment were like, oh, it's a 2001 amplifier and it's only doing, whatever. No, it's doing what it's supposed to do. You're used to running that dirt, all the way up. So they had to literally go through and disassemble those and take those, put a clip in there to fix that problem so that it would go away. And then they changed the way they were manufactured after that, because something that makes total sense to some of us was just horrible for, trying to sell it to people, because most people don't have brains. They just don't. They're a bunch of monkeys, man. That's what we are, I see both sides of the fence. That's the sad thing. I can see how stupid I am, yet I still stupid because stupid. Yeah. I get it. I don't know if it'll help though. Still debating on that. Man, stupid freaking thing. Floki, what's up, man? So he's late, but he's here. Or he or she, I'm not sure. I think. Floki is definitely not one of those names that lets you know immediately who the hell you're talking to. But I like it. I think the picture is a guy, though. I can barely see it. He's a little bitty sucker. I don't know. It might be a girl. Speak up. Let us know let us know which team you're on, man. I should have never even went there, but I did. So let's keep it going. Average luck. Answer to the title. Does tape metal help? We're still talking about that. It's not an easy answer. It's an accumulation of things. So it's not quite that simple, unfortunately. I think it does. I think it's an overall improvement, but we've talked about a whole lot of different options in the ways that those can be implemented that can do similar things, if not better. So there's a lot of gray carpet in this room. T. Corley says, do you think a 6x9 box converted to 6.5 will work okay? Yeah. Small drivers tend to be very friendly when it comes to putting them in larger enclosures than they should get. They're not as closure specific, and most of your car audio mid-range and stuff is designed to operate at an infinite baffle anyway. So it's going to be like a QTS of around 0.707 out of the box. So any enclosure you put it in is only going to raise the Q. So yeah, totally fine, bro. And you might even get a little bit deeper response out of it because there'll be more airspace versus cone area. But I don't dump on 6x9s. I love me a set of by nines, man. Uh, you're probably talking about the wedges. They work fine, man. The wedges suck for 6x9s, but they might work pretty good for some 6.5s. Willie Bose tar amps are hit and miss. Yep. Yep, I agree with that. They sound like a 747. Emmett Bishop just got here late. What's up? What's up, man? We've been going for a couple of hours now, I think. Corn nut. What we got going on in the Navy? There's a song about that. At least one. I don't know it though. I can almost hear it going in my head. I couldn't use a solder in the Navy. I couldn't use solder on an F-14, but I always solder in vehicles. I never had one fail. Car audio, I prefer solder. I always Tessa bundles to reinforce it. Yeah, I feel you, bro. I get it. I mean, I've done my share of soldering, especially when you're dealing with a whole lot of wires. It can be very, very clean. And the only problem is one cold joint, man. You know, if it's a matter of losing a tweeter, well, it's not as big of a damn deal. But if it's a matter of losing control over your fucking left rudder, you know, it's kind of a big deal. uh, but yeah, you're typically going to have less problems if you solder everything and heat shrink it and all that. If you know how to solder and you have good equipment and you have good product. If you don't meet any one of those three criteria, you do not want to be soldering some shit that you're going to be burying somewhere, because you will have some cold joints and they will break and you won't know why your shit ain't working. Just saying. And base breaks stuff. Base is really good at breaking shit. Not saying soldering is better. It's a way. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, if you meet all the criteria to solder, you're going to do fine with that. But if you suck at it, don't do it. Just don't. You're going to regret it. Practice and get better, but don't practice on shit that you're going to hide somewhere and have to worry about it, digging it out later. You know, get you a freaking breadboard build kit of some kind and solder that sucker together. Get really good at soldering. Use lots of freaking what's it called? Flux. Use lots of that shit. That's your friend, man, when your soldering sucks. I only solder when I have no choice. Because my soldering is definitely not good. Stu says, haven't seen fused amped outputs since the 80s Fosgate. Yeah. They exist. There still exist a very, very few brands out there still have a breaker. They still have breakers on some of their mids and high drivers, on the tweeters. On the tweeters, specifically, they're thermally protected tweeters. That's what they call it, thermal protection, which is just a breaker. But yeah, I remember the actual fused speakers. They had a fuse, a glass fuse. Yes. That was a thing. And it was a thing in home audio. It was a thing in a lot of stuff. But anymore, the equipment's so cheap relatively that, you know, it just went out of favor. Corn nut, this is the way. You guys, man. Let's see. Stu admitting his age. Yeah, baby. Stu throwing it out there. Corey, ever wondered exactly what the purpose of solder is? Is it for electrical flow or is it a method of mechanically bonding the wires? Technically, it's well, let me think about that, because it depends on what you're doing. If you're soldering two wires together, then it's more about bonding the wires mechanically. The wires should be twisted together to start with. That's your electrical connection. However, that doesn't hold true all the way through. On a circuit board, it is used to hold components in, but also to make an electrical connection between the component and the pinout or the hole in the board for that component's leg. So it does both in a circuit board. But as far as connecting two wires together, it's the mechanical fastener because the wires should be twisted before they're soldered. That's my answer. Hopefully I'm right. We'll find out later. He will say something about it. Stu said, yep, I'm officially old. CCA solder, is there such a thing? Probably. Solder is mostly lead, like lead and silver. So it's even worse. It's even worse than aluminum. There's probably an aluminum-based solder, though. I haven't looked into it. Solder is generally a tin alloy. Now, there you go. Mixed with other metals, and it will corrode over time. Yes, because it's not impervious. It's not noble. It's not a noble metal. I've always assumed it's more for bonding. Correct. Prevents the intermediate connection. Decade down the line where the occasional crimp fails. It's rare. Yeah. There's nothing saying you can't crimp something and solder it. I've seen light bulbs used as tweeter protection circuits. Sure. And stage monitor crossovers. That makes total sense. Yeah. A light bulb is basically a fuse. If you know what current it takes to blow the damn light bulb, it's a fuse. Hey, side note. You know how we like to go out on these little side notes? I'm going to throw another one at you guys. If you're old enough to remember driving trucks, we'll just use trucks because trucks are cool. From the 1980s and back. Really around the 90s, they started changing. But you would see a light on the dash that said ALT, A-L-T, big light. And of course, if your alternator didn't work, that light would be on. Do you know why? When I learned this, it blew my freaking mind. So the light bulb in those old vehicles that would light up that gauge that says ALT, letting you know your alternator has failed, that light bulb is part of the charging circuit. The signal wire that tells the alternator to come on runs through that light bulb, okay, and runs to the alternator. So the ignition wire that tells the alternator to start charging runs through the light bulb. We still run it through a resistor. The reason it runs through the light bulb is when the alternator is working, spinning, when it's on and spinning. Remember, when you turn the key on, the alternator light would be red, right? As soon as you started the vehicle, it would go off. So when you turn the key on, I don't know exactly how this works, but I'll try to get in the ballpark. When you turn the key on and the alternator is not running, it's just sitting there, that power wire that sends that signal to the alternator is going to a ground in the alternator. That's why the light's on, okay? As soon as you start the vehicle, the ground goes away. It's still a hot wire going there, but the ground goes away, so now the light bulb goes off. But if the alternator malfunctions, it goes back to ground and the light bulb comes on. The key thing in this is that freaking light bulb, that 1157 or 1156 actually, that 1156 that was in that dash was a part of the charging circuit. It had to be there or the alternator wouldn't charge. That's how shit used to work. And it was like that forever. And even today, the alternators that we use are based on the same technology, so they still require a resistor in that line to prevent it from becoming a dead short when you turn the key on and just frying shit. Good stuff, right? I bet you there's a bunch of you guys that didn't know that. That's one of those things I learned, and I'm like, whoa, mind blown. And yeah, that's how that shit worked. Stu, I rely on how much I rely. Stu, Stu, what are you doing over there? I rely on how much fire my tar amp makes. It determines how much current I'm pulling. Yes, the tar amp fire is a definite indicator of a low current situation. Using a thermometer as an ammeter. Hell yeah, buddy. Back of my head feeling the flames, man. If it starts getting brighter inside your car and it's got a nice orange glow to it, you need to pull the hell over because shit's getting real up inside your vehicle. My first truck was an early 80s S10 in the mid 90s. Yeah. So yeah, that was one of them. I drove so many of those cars. Stu said, I remember the coil that made up the dimmer circuit for the little spring. It had a spring that went all the way around and the little thing, and the further it go around the spring, the brighter it would get. And go back here, I totally remember that. Do you remember pounding on the floor, the dimmer switch in the floor with your foot trying to get the headlights to work? I got some hellified stories, man. Yeah. He said it's literally just a spring wrapped around the post with a pointer that touched it and turned. And this shit worked. And it worked for years and years and years. Good times. Ananies. I'm sure I'm screwing that name up. Some lead-free rosin flux silver core solder. That's a lot of words. And some marine grade heat shrink, and you're good to go. I like my marine grade heat shrink. I'm 100% on board with that. There's no comparison between that cheap shit and marine grade shrink with the glue in it. It's a whole different game, man. The other shit looks like it, but it's not. Used it for years in car manufacturing plant. Sure. My alternator glows yellow. Well, yellow, red, whatever color it's going to glow, damn it. It's just going to glow. So there's that. Extra power. We still need to have, let's see. Stu said, we still need to have our show on grounding requirements for big setups. Grounding requirements. Son. That's kind of a picture thing. I'm going to have to draw pictures for that. It's easier to explain with pictures. I could walk through it though, but not this show. We've been going for almost 2 hours. Sean Gonzalez said, I have a Chevy Alt in my Dodge. Man, there's people in my family that will literally hunt you down and kill you over that. No kidding, man. They would you got to die. You got to die, man. You just got to, because you done some bad things. Me personally, I say put a Ford air conditioner pump on it and call it good. Call it a blend. But yeah, I got family that would freak out over that. Go break out in hives and shit. But Sean said, if we got a Chevy alternator in my Dodge, I had to install a light bulb to get it to work. You can also use a 400 ohm resistor in that spot too. But now you know. Stu said, I has questions. Oh yeah. Hey man, look, I'm telling you, man. I had friends that did crazy stuff like put, Chevy engines in Ford trucks and shit like that. Man, it's like driving a Tesla truck. You're going to have one group that go, yay, and one group that throw rocks. It's not anybody in the middle. Very, very polarizing. Guys, if you want some solid subwoofers, if you want some amazing equipment at a low price, head over to Slapz Car Audio, SLAPZ. Use discount code CAE to save 10%. Check it out over here. Stu, you ain't right, man. Look at that, baby. We're slapping it. That's the budget line, guys. That's what I'm running. Remember, discount code CAE, save 10% off anything at Slapz. That's the budget line currently, but there's something else coming that Slapz, guys. I want to leave you hanging on that part, though. There's some more things happening. We got the version 2s on the Oblivions and the Smackdowns, but there's more stuff coming. There are more things. Things are happening in the world of Slapz Audio. Guys, if you ain't rocking it, you need to be rocking it. My whole build is Slapz, and I love every piece of gear that I've got. Cornut said, oh my God, hang on a minute. What all did you guys say? Stu said, that's how you make a Ford run. Just put a Chevy motor in it. Make it run away. I grew up on Fords, man. I was a Ford guy through and through. I had a whole lot of Ford cars. Had my brother-in-law's Ford truck for a while. That's complicated, but I did. I had it for a while. He loaned it to me for like 6 months. And it was like a 90, 89, I think, or a 90. The one with the kind of rounded front end had the step bed on it. Had a straight six with a 4-speed and a floor. I freaking loved that truck. It was black with the step bed and everything. Had the tube grill and had the straight six in it. You know, you wouldn't think that'd be a cool motor, but if you've got a 5-speed with a straight six, man, you can have a blast with that. That truck was cool. I liked that truck. I hated giving it back to him. I'd still be driving that sucker if I still had it. That was a cool truck. Anya Keys said, I just saw a Hellcat with a Honda motor installed today. Wild times we live in. Yeah, well, whenever you see a Honda with a Hellcat engine, see, that's what you didn't see. You saw a Hellcat with a Honda motor in it. What you missed, though, was the fact that it's somewhere out there's a Honda with the Hellcat engine in it. And that's what's up, baby. I drive either one of them because they're both weird. There's one YouTube channel where the guy he's putting lawnmower engines in all kinds of cars and stuff, and he does all kinds of weird stuff with it. Very interesting channel. Can't think of the name off the top of my head, but he does really cool, well-documented, entertaining builds. He puts ridiculously stupid small engines in cars and stuff and drives them down the highway and tries to get more power out of them and all kinds of stuff. There's another video where this guy he's got a Ford Maverick for a car with a fairly good sized V8 engine in it. And he put a carburetor off a lawnmower on it and was able to get like 50 something miles to the gallon. It's crazy shit, man. I love watching all that kind of stuff. I'm into it. Slapz. It's LS swapped. Hell yeah, baby. You guys are awesome. Well, the thing about Fords, man, is once you've worked on a few, you kind of have it figured out, and you just come to the party knowing what gifts to bring. You just know if it's a starter issue, you bring a hammer because you're going to need to beat on a damn starter. If it's a heater core issue, you bring a piece of hose so you can bypass the heater cores, because ain't nobody got time for taking the entire dash out of the car to replace the heater core. So you just put a hose on it, bypass it. You learn what's going to break and how to fix it. And you just bring the right gift to the party, and then you're good to go. Cornette said, I have the GM credit card. I drive a Silverado. Just saying. I had one. I had a 2016 Silverado. I got to say, yeah, it wasn't my favorite truck, but it was number two. That old Ford that I had for a while, that was my brother-in-law's. That was my favorite. That truck was just freaking cool, man. It wasn't. It didn't on any of the metrics. It was destroyed by my 2016 Silverado. Destroyed it in every number there is. But there was a cool factor that just wasn't there. That was with that old stick shift. That truck was hilariously fun to drive. So cool. Something to be said for that, man. It ain't all about having the best of everything. Sometimes just a vehicle just has a thing, you know. It just has a personality, and that just snaps with you. And it don't matter if it's everything is broken, if it's just a complete piece of shit. It jives with your personality, and you can just sync up with it, and you feel good about it, and that's everything. Now you put that into the cosmos, and I'm sure it will come across the YouTube feed sooner or later. You guys are all GM people, man. Y'all are weird ass GM people. I'm driving a Tahoe, by the way, so see here. GM country down here. I get it. Do I have the screaming schedule? I don't have the screaming schedule. I can't even talk. My words aren't even working. So there's that. I scream every day. That's my schedule. Do I have a streaming schedule? I do my live shows on Friday for now until Andy comes back to doing lives on Friday. At that time, Living Loud with Andy will be taking over on the Friday shows. But I always have a Sunday show around 7 o'clock. Every week, 7 o'clock Central, around 7 o'clock. It's not always on exactly on 7. Sometimes it's a little earlier, sometimes a little later. Because Sundays are complicated, but it'll be around that time. So, yes, that's my schedule. Thank you for asking. I'm sorry I was picking on you. I just like picking on everybody. These guys they live off of getting picked on. They enjoy it. They line up. I switch them, and they turn around, they run around the tree and come right back for more switching. I don't know what the hell's wrong with these kids. Michael Smith said, I love Fords. We're going to leave you up here, man. You got to stick with me. You're going to hang with me, man. I got pizza in the fridge. We're good for at least a couple hours. W said, old Fords are hot. 60s Falcons, yeah. I drove mostly like the old Thunderbirds, the LTDs, and different shit like that. Well, the Torino, that was one of the really cool old Fords, man. The Ford Torinos. Yeah, I like them. My favorite, I got to tell you guys, though, if I'm going to pick an old car that I just always like and that I've had a whole bunch of, and that was the Jeep Cherokees. Jeep Cherokees have always been something that I'm drawn to, and I always enjoy them. They're nice and small. You can get them in and out of tight places, and they just go and go and go and go. With that old straight six motor in them, oh my God, those things would run forever, get decent fuel economy, fit a lot of stuff in a small space, and it was just the right size for everything. They were just cool. I think they're cool. The modern ones are, I don't know, man, they're just stupid, but when you go back to at least back to the 90s and back, I like the old Jeep Cherokees. That don't mean it's my favorite car. It's just one that I'm always drawn to. I'm always comfortable in a Cherokee. I know there's somebody out there that's a Cherokee nut like me. Red Pill, see, I'm keeping you up here, Michael. We're going to stay up here because you said you love Fords. And you know what? I told you we're riding. Red Pill said, I just like to show up to parties with a bunch of thirst and hunger. Well, we got plenty of things to take care of that. 60s Falcons. Hell yeah, man. Let's see here. Had an 86 F-150 with the 300 inline six and 4 on the floor. That's what I'm talking about. And it was great, right? Oh, my God. Those things were awesome, dude. Uh, and different years have got good step sides. I've always been a step side fan. I know some people hate them, don't want no nothing to do with them. I'm the polar opposite. You know, I had that 2016 Chevy, my most recent truck. Had it for 2 years. Not one time in the entire 2 years did I ever put anything in the bed of that truck. The fact is, 99% of the time, nobody puts anything other than maybe a few beer cans in the bed of their truck. So I think the step side looks good. And you don't sacrifice any space. It's just you're putting the fender wells on the outside instead of the inside. That's all, man. You're not really giving up any room. I think they look cool on some trucks. Some step sides look like shit. The little red wagon from Dodge, that was a sick ass step side. That was a sick truck. Um, and that year model from Ford had a really sick step side too. And the '90s and up Chevy pickup, the one with the kind of a pointy front end when they first got pointy, not the square body with the flat front, but the one where they started to get a little bit of a round front to them. Those had a really sick ass step side too. They look good with wide fat tires on them. I know. I'm off on a deep tangent. Stu said we're glutton for punishment. Uh, Corn Nut said, with all that weight and subs, you need to choose something reliable. Yeah, no doubt, man. My buddy has a sweet Galaxy 500 Ford, and it's really clean. Yeah, oh yeah. My first vehicle was an '85 Cherokee with Autobahn 15s beating down the block. Dude, I've always loved Cherokees, man. I've had two Cherokees and one Cherokee Chief and two Grand Cherokees, and all of them were cool. The favorite one though was the Cherokee Chief. If you get a chance to get one of those, get that shit. It's a two-door Cherokee. That's what it is. It's got some extra graphics on it. It's a tiny bit shorter. I think the wheelbase is a little bit shorter, but it's strong running. They're really cool. The Cherokee Chief, man. That was my favorite. Stu's Custom Shop. Mine was a fleet side, but it was cranked and ran as long as it had gas in the tank. Yes, sir. Solid, solid, solid trucks, man. Really good trucks. Uh, Corley. T. Corley said, Fords. Yeah, I know. Yeah, see what happens is this is how people learn to hate Fords. It's real easy. You're driving down the road in your Chevrolet, and the engine blows up, and so you pull over on the side of the road, and you see Fords passing you, and you man, screw all them Fords, man. that's how you learn to hate Fords, man. That's what happens. Or what's worse, you get stuck in the mud in your Chevy and a Ford comes pulls you out. Yeah. After driving through the mud hole that you're stuck in to get around there to pull you out, then you learn to hate Fords. How did we get Michael Smith banned? Is Michael Smith banned? Is something I don't know about? I don't know about this. Oh, no, he's not. He's down there. What are you talking about? Oh, how do we get him banned? Okay, I'm sorry. Now I understand. My brain turned off for a minute. My mouth kept running and my brain said, screw it, I'm out of here. This is how I live, guys. if you ever one of us like to hang out with me, this is it. You're hanging out with me right now. This is me 24 freaking hours a day. And my wife, she's mental because of it, dude. Her brain is completely broken. I have broken her brain in so many ways, so many times. Yeah, she's messed up. And she's like, she sees the setup coming. Like we'll be somewhere where somebody will say something. She'll see it coming. She'll know that there's an opening and she knows exactly what I'm going to do. And she starts doing this. She's like, oh no, because she knows it's coming. Uh, yeah, man, I love it, dude. My buddy had a very good saying that he used for years and years and years. I think it was an excellent way of looking at life. His simple phrase was, "I lack the ability to give a fuck." He just didn't care. It didn't nothing bothered him because he didn't care. You know, he smoked pot every day, all day long. But he was totally chill, and you know, he was a good dude. He worked hard. He high as a kite while he was working, but he worked hard. He did his job. He did his thing. He was, you know, he was a good dude. He was always stoned out of his mind, but he straight up didn't care, and nothing bothered him. He let shit roll off his back so easy. It's just a wonderful outlook on life. I think it was great. Uh, Stud Custom Shop. Not sure that was an hypo, but I like it. Glutton for punishment. Yeah, most definitely, unfortunately. Hey, have y'all not smashed the like button yet? Is somebody missing something? Because we're, you know, I mean, damn. You're here. You might as well push the little stupid thumb. I mean, it ain't like it takes any effort to do it. You're already clicking on shit. Come on, man. Yeah, there he is. He's we're not going to ban him. Hell no, man. He's eating pizza. Eating pizza. I got Diet Cokes and pizza in the fridge. So you're good, man. I'll break bread with any of y'all any day. You're welcome to my house. Chevys are the best base vehicle. Now, you know what? That's a good topic. What is the best base vehicle? Well, here's the thing. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, bass wasn't a thing. In the 70s, it wasn't a thing. Hell, it wasn't a thing really in the 80s, but the cars were also not well put together. But I was thinking about this. What if you had like a 1940s vehicle, right? Something with a thick ass piece of sheet metal. I mean, thick sheet metal with all the rounded panels that wouldn't be all wanting to flex all the time. Uh, with that hard metal floor and the frame and all that stuff, I think you could really build some sound pressure in one of those old 1940s or 50s vehicles. They also had thicker glass too. The glass wouldn't be as easy to flex. The windshield probably wouldn't be as easy to break either. I think they were just innately better race vehicles. But nobody that has one in any kind of decent condition does the crazy stuff we do. So I really don't know how it would turn out. It might be awesome. Something to think about. Having said that, the base vehicle that I personally know about is a Honda CRX. It's just automatic win. You could put a 6 in there on 500 watts and do a 155 at the freaking light. They're stupid, man. They just automatically are loud. And they're so good at being loud that some competitions literally don't allow them. They're not even allowed at some competitions because they're so ridiculously overpowered. But you know, we're just gonna leave that laying on the table. Oh no, Dobby said. Man, there's a whole lot of acronyms that have been made out of Ford, man. So I don't know which one you're going to. Michael Smith, he wants to ban me because we both like Fords. No. No. Michael Smith is a Ford dude. I'm all about it, man. I've never had a spark plug break off in a block. Shots fired. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. Had that happen in a Ford truck. Now, Triton engine. It didn't break off in the block. It literally shot the spark plugs out into the hood. You can see dents in the hood where the spark plugs literally go hit the hood. 2 of them. Triton motor was an absolutely atrocious thing. If you go in there and helicoil them and put in the better sleeves, they're great motors. They got like 3 problems. The timing chain guide the plastic timing chain guide. You got to get rid of that, put a new one in, and helical the spark plugs, and they'll run forever. If you don't do either one of those two things, though, you're screwed. Having said that, Chevys are really bad with their little variable valves, the ones that shut the different pistons off, stop them from firing, and just fire 4 cylinders or whatever. I forget what they call that engine, but they are really bad about falling apart if you don't change the oil on a really regular basis, because they get issues and it's in the heads. Everybody's got their problems, but I'd rather have that happen than have the spark plugs go, airborne Ranger. Yeah. So there's that. 90s Astrovan. Hey, didn't what was it? Is it a late 80s? Who was it that come out with that turbocharged van? Somebody had a turbocharged van, and it's like it was in the 80s, I believe, maybe the mid 80s. It was actually pretty damn quick too. It was just a straight up grocery getter minivan, but it was turbocharged, and it would get it. We had one kid that got his mama's van all the time and would come race with us, and he whooped some ass on a constant basis out there against some stuff that you think would have destroyed him. That thing was actually quick, and he ran it into a field and rolled it like 20 times one night. That shit went well, but it is what it is. We all been there. Like I said, I just got caught. First on race day, yeah. And that's the truth, though. That's some stone cold truth in that. Ford was destroying everybody in NASCAR for a long time. They just knew how to build, streamlined aerodynamic bodies. And that was literally what was getting them in the wins. It was all aerodynamics found in rubbish dump. Yeah. Pulling out a Chevy in there, backing in there and digging in there to pull a Chevy out of there. That's what it was done. Fucked over, rebuilt Dodge. Yeah. Chevys are the easiest, not necessarily the best base vehicles. Yeah, fair enough. Chevys are the easiest to work on because one part out of one will just almost always fit on another. They got into making that 350 small block, and that small block engine literally forever went unchanged. So parts swap. That's why they were so popular, is because they were easy to hot rod, because you only had to make one part for like 30 years worth of cars. And so, it was easy. It was easy to hot rod them. Ford did not see the logic in that. Unfortunately, they decided to make all sorts of weird shit. They made multiple V8s at one time that were all different and all the same size. Don't know why. Let's see here. Elma Gates. Yeah, for real. Yeah, you got me. I broke off talking my Mustang. Stu said 83 to 94 Mustang hatchback, 8202 Camaro Firebird. Pretty much anything hatchback make great base. Fair. Yeah, hatchbacks are kind of, it creates that, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's kind of like a bullhorn, basically. It works like that. There's a word, but I can't think of it. A certain type of speaker cabinet that creates that V effect, and I can't think of the name of it, but loaded horn. That's what I was trying to think of. They're basically a loaded horn. The car is just shaped like one. Let's see here. It was an 80s turbo van. If it was a mid 80s turbo van, I would think it would be probably a Ford. I think it was a Dodge. Honestly, in my mind, I'm thinking it was a Dodge of some kind. Yeah, and that sucker would skid, dude. It would go. I mean, it was just surprising how quick that van was. Oh yeah, that was in like 90 or 91 or something like that. The Cyclones and Typhoons. That was a Oh no, no, it wasn't a four cylinder. It was a V6. I think it was basically the engine was basically a copy or a deviant of the Buick Grand National V6, which was I want to say it was supercharged. I may have been turbo. Now I'm having a trouble remembering for sure, but I think it was supercharged. I think I could be wrong about that. It may have been turbo. Yeah, it had the turbo. It may have been turbocharged. Anyway, it was the fastest car, the quickest car in the world for multiple years. The Cyclone and the Cyclone was the fastest truck for like 30 years. Period. It was like it had the fastest everything for like 30 years. Nothing else could beat it. It was just stupid fast. Good luck finding one. Folded horn, yeah. Thanks, Stu. Actually, I was thinking a loaded horn, but same concept, just slightly different application. What's up, Ryan? You showed up. We're getting ready to shut down here anytime now. Turbo GNX. Yeah, I think it was turbo. I couldn't remember that. I was just drawing a. That's about the same time that me and my buddy were looking at the centrifugal turbos. I mean, centrifugal superchargers. And I couldn't remember if that one had one or not. I was mixing them up in my head. I hear the 1990 Chevy Blazer is good for car audio because smaller than a Tahoe and has an arch back. That's fair. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Can't forget the Turbo Trans Am. I like the 80s models. I like the 80s models Mustangs, but not the Mustang specifically. I like the Mercury Capri better. The Capri had the front end that kind of come down straight, and the Mustang was kind of pointy. I didn't like the way the Mustang looked. I liked the Capri grille. But that car was the same from both. It had a little turbocharged four-cylinder in it with a four-speed or a five-speed. I don't remember. Fun to drive car. It wasn't fast by any stretch of the imagination, but if you put a glass back on that sucker, it was great listening to them notes and grabbing gears, and it was a great, fun car to drive. But it definitely wasn't quick. Looked cool, though. Had a good look on it, and if you had the Capri front grille with the little flat front, it looked really good. The GNX, yeah, 3.8 liter turbocharged V6. Yeah, and that Grand National actually still has records. That car is stupid, dude, absolutely stupid. And that was from Buick. Think about that shit. Ryan said 1987 Buick Grand National is amazing. It has a turbo. Thank you for reminding me. Stu said, what's the other truck, though? The Cyclone and the Blazer. It was the Cyclone and with an S. So it was SY, not CY. It was the Cyclone and the Typhoon. The Cyclone was the truck and the Typhoon was a Blazer, I think. Pretty sure I got those correct. I may have them backwards, but I do know that the Cyclone was spelled with an S. Yes, you spelled it wrong too. Look it up. Google it, shit. Google it. Yeah, I thought you'd say that. It's amazing the wonderful nest of crap I have shoved into my brain, right? I don't even know, dude. Sometimes I can't remember my own freaking name. My dad had a supercharged 1998 Buick Regal. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Dodge Caravan. I think it may have been the Dodge Caravan, Dub. Stu said, all I remember was turbo trucks 4.3 instead of 3.8. and they're still making a 4.3. I had a 2001 brand new truck. The only brand new vehicle I ever owned was a 2001 Chevy S10, two-wheel drive, extended cab, brand spanking new when I got it. And that was the worst decision I ever made. Never buy brand new shit. Brand new vehicles is the worst fucking investment you can make. Anyway, though, it was a cool truck. And of course, me being the idiot that I was born, literally before I went home, the first day I got the truck, I had not even went home yet. You keep that shit in mind, okay? The thing had single-digit miles on it. I took it to the exhaust shop and cut the factory exhaust off and put duals on this truck. Yeah, brand freaking new. Hadn't even went to the house. My next stop was the car audio shop. And we put 215s in the back in a sealed enclosure because that's what was available. And 1,000-watt amp on them. So that's how that shit works. I'm a bass head, man. I'm like, screw it, man. I ain't buying this to resell it. I'm not trying to, invest in property here. This is me having fun, and I'm going to do it the way I'm going to do it. And that's how I do it. But it is what it is. I also ended up putting Corvette wheels on that truck, too. I think I did that like in the next week. Caravan, 2.5 turbo, that's probably it. Well, folks, it has been an amazing show, and I appreciate you guys for all showing up and having fun with us. And don't forget to go over to Slapz Audio, get 10% off using my discount code CAE. Save that money, get some great gear. And I hope you guys had a great time. And I got a video coming up that'll be getting uploaded tonight that you're going to probably want to check out. So keep your eye open for that. For now, guys, you know what's up. Let's get the duck out of here, baby.
Subwoofers are getting loud, you can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go, got it shined up for the show. Hours charging, amps are amping, gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home, another one bites the dust. Wires are glowing and the amps smoking, subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slamming, gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go, 20 hertz in the floating air. Sparks are flying, voice calls are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust. Got it. Got it. Boom.
Duck, guys. You wish you had moves like that duck, baby. Duck!